Imagine spending billions of dollars to build an entirely new capital city. Not a new district, not a new government complex, an entirely new capital. Now imagine building it in the middle of a tropical rainforest. That's exactly what Indonesia is doing. For more than 75 years, Indonesia's capital has been Jakarta, a massive megacity of over 30 million people. But today, the government is moving its political center nearly 1,300 kilometers away to a place called Nusantara, deep in the forests of Borneo. At first glance, the decision seems almost unbelievable. Why abandon one of Asia's largest cities? Why build a capital from scratch? And why choose a rainforest? The answer is a story about geography, climate change, politics, and one country's attempt to reinvent itself. To understand why Indonesia is moving its capital, you first need to understand Jakarta. Jakarta isn't just crowded, it's overwhelmed. The city sits on the northwest coast of Java, Indonesia's most populous island. Over decades, Jakarta became the center of government, finance, business, and opportunity. Millions of people moved there. Companies concentrated there. Infrastructure struggled to keep up. Today, the Greater Jakarta metropolitan area is home to more than 30 million people. Traffic congestion is legendary. Air pollution is a constant concern. And every year, flooding threatens neighborhoods across the city. But the most alarming problem lies beneath the ground. Jakarta is sinking. Because many residents and industries rely on groundwater extraction, parts of the city have been gradually subsiding for decades. Some areas have sunk several meters. Combined with rising sea levels, this creates a dangerous situation. A city that is literally moving downward while the ocean moves upward. For Indonesian leaders, this raised an uncomfortable question. What happens when your capital city becomes increasingly difficult to protect? But Jakarta's environmental problems are only part of the story. The deeper reason is political. Indonesia is one of the largest countries on Earth. More than 17,000 islands stretch across thousands of kilometers. Yet for decades, one island has dominated almost everything: Java. Although Java represents only a small portion of Indonesia's land area, it contains most of the population, much of the economy, and nearly all major political institutions. In many ways, Indonesia became heavily concentrated around a single island. Critics argued that development was becoming unbalanced. While Jakarta and Java grew wealthier, other regions often felt overlooked. Indonesia's leaders believed that moving the capital could help change that. The goal wasn't simply to escape Jakarta. The goal was to create a new center of gravity for the nation, a symbol that Indonesia is more than just Java. If Jakarta had become such a problem, why not simply move the capital to another major city? Why start from scratch? The answer lies in East Kalimantan, on the island of Borneo. From the government's perspective, the location offered several advantages. Compared with many parts of Indonesia, the region faces lower risks from earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. It also provides vast amounts of available land. And geographically, it's closer to the center of the Indonesian archipelago. But there was a catch, a big one. The area sits within one of the world's most important tropical forest regions. Borneo is famous for its biodiversity. Its forests support countless species found nowhere else on Earth, including one of humanity's closest relatives, the orangutan. Suddenly, Indonesia faced a difficult dilemma. How do you build a modern capital city without damaging one of the planet's most valuable ecosystems? The Indonesian government insists that Nusantara will be different. Officials describe it as a sustainable forest city, a smart city, a green city. They argue that much of the surrounding area will remain protected and that reforestation projects will offset environmental impacts. Supporters see Nusantara as an opportunity, a chance to design a modern capital from the ground up, with cleaner transportation, better urban planning, and fewer problems than Jakarta. But critics remain skeptical. Environmental groups warn that roads, housing developments, utilities, and supporting industries could gradually fragment the surrounding ecosystem. Others worry about the impact on indigenous communities that have lived in the region for generations. And some researchers ask an uncomfortable question. Even if Nusantara succeeds, will it actually solve Jakarta's problems? After all, tens of millions of people will still live in Jakarta. Businesses will remain there. Financial institutions will remain there. The city will still need protection from floods and rising seas. In other words, Indonesia may end up maintaining two enormous urban challenges instead of one. Indonesia is not the first country to attempt something this ambitious. Brazil built Brasilia, Australia created Canberra, Nigeria established Abuja, Myanmar constructed Naypyidaw. Throughout history, governments have occasionally built entirely new capitals to reshape national identity and redirect development. Sometimes these projects succeed, sometimes they struggle, and sometimes they become symbols of political ambition more than practical necessity. The question now is whether Nusantara will join the success stories or become a cautionary tale. At its core, Indonesia's decision is about far more than moving government offices. It's about climate risk, economic inequality, national identity, and the challenge of planning for the future in a rapidly changing world. Jakarta represents the consequences of decades of concentrated growth. Nusantara represents a gamble that a different future can be built from scratch. Whether that gamble succeeds remains uncertain. But one thing is already clear. Indonesia is attempting one of the most ambitious capital city relocations of the 21st century. And the world is watching. What do you think? Is Nusantara a visionary solution or a costly mistake?